This is Combat Commander video number 4. We're going to deal with firing in this video. If we look at the fire card, it says order/action. That's because there are two ways of playing the fire card. If we play it in our own turn as an order, that's one way of playing it, but we can also play it in your opponent's turn as an action, and that would be during one of his move orders. So you can fire at your opponent's moving units if you have a fire order action card in your hand. We're going to look at the fire action a little bit later. I'm just going to stick with the order for now. Okay. We'll look at the basic procedure in a very simple case of firing. First of all, the fire order is similar to the move order in that it activates a unit, and obviously if it was a leader it could then activate all the other units within its command radius. Again, it has to follow the order that if you play an order, you have to actually do something with it. So if you play a fire order, you have to actually shoot at something. You have to have something within your range and line of sight. So in this very simple example here, I've got an American line squad that's going to fire at the German Volksgrenadier squad. The first things that you have to check is whatever's shooting has to have line of sight and range to the target. Clearly the squad has line of sight here because there's only a clear hex in between them, and clearly they're within range because they have a range of 6 and the Volksgrenadier is only 2 hexes away. So once we've decided that we're in range and line of sight, the next thing that we've got to do as the units that's firing is to decide if we're going to play any actions. So if I'm going to play any actions that increase my firepower or do whatever, I have to play my actions now. Once I've decided whether or not I'm going to play any actions, I have to make a roll, and whatever the roll is, I add it to my firepower to come to my attack total. So once I've done that, then my opponent gets a chance to play his actions, if any defensive actions that he's got that might add to his morale or whatever. And once he's done that, he then makes a roll as well, and he adds to that his morale plus any modifiers, any defensive modifiers he might have for the terrain that he's in. Or indeed, if he's got a leader in the same hex, his morale will be increased by the leader's command. So once he's done that and he's made a roll and he's added any defensive bonuses and he's added his morale, that's his defense total. So I've got an attack total, he's got a defense total. The rule is, if it's a fire order, if my attack total is less than his defense total, then nothing happens, the shot has failed. If my attack total equals his defense total, then he's what's called suppressed, which means that there's a nice little marker in the actual game. Vassal does it automatically, but what it means is that you've got -1 to all of your attributes, and also you can no longer fire any weapons that you might be carrying. So if you're carrying a machine gun and you're suppressed, you can't fire your machine gun, but you're otherwise unaffected. You've just got the -1 to all of your stats. Just undo that. That's if the fire attack total is equal to the defense total. If the fire attack total is greater than the defense total, then you've broken whatever you're shooting at. And breaking things in Combat Commander is flipping it over to its broken side. As you can see there, its stats are vastly reduced, but otherwise it can still, it can still move around. It can no longer fire weapons again when it's broken. The unit can still carry weapons, it just can't fire them, and the weapons themselves don't become broken just because the squad's broken. So it's two different meanings of the word broken. If a unit breaks a game when it's already broken, then it's eliminated and it goes on the casualty track. And eventually if you reach your casualty limit, then you've lost the game, as we mentioned earlier. So I'll just unbreak him, rally him. Okay, so those are the possible outcomes. We'll just run through this as an example. So the line squad's going to fire at the Volksgrenadier squad, so I'm not going to play any actions and I'm going to make my roll. And here we go, I've rolled a 9. Okay, so my total would be 15, my attack total is 15. firing at the Volksgrenadier, he's going to decline to play any actions. He's in, if I just move out of the way, he's in a clear hex which doesn't modify his morale, so his morale is still 7. There's no leaders in there, so it's just a straight 7 plus whatever he rolls. And the German rolls, he rolls a 7. So his total would be 14. However, before we resolve the fire attack here, if you've noticed there, the Germans have rolled a trigger, an event trigger, on their card, so you would then resolve the event first of all before you got to resolving the fire attack. I'm not going to do that now, but that's just to show you how triggers work. You would jump straight in, resolve the event, draw the next card off the top of the German deck, resolve the event, and then you would come back to figuring out whatever the result was. So, in this case, we've got 9 and 6, 15 against 14, so it exceeds the Volksgrenadiers' defense total, so they would be broken. Okay, pretty simple. Just another example here. This time I'm going to play the fire order, and this time we're going to activate Corporal Hubbard. He is then in turn going to activate the 3 line squads, the one that is in his hex and the other 2 that are within his command radius of 1. Now, all 4 guys are activated to fire. You have to make the choice. They can all fire individually and all fire at separate targets. There's absolutely no problem with that. They can all activate individually and they can all fire at the same target. So since there's only the Volksgrenadier here, actually let me change this slightly. Okay, so now we've got 2 targets. Got the weapon squad as well. The 4 units here, they could choose to all fire at the same target individually. They could fire at whatever between these 2. Units don't block line of sight or hinder line of sight in any way, so you can shoot. There's no problem with this line squad shooting at the weapon squad. The Volksgrenadier squad don't block the line of sight at all. So they could, all 4 of them, shoot individually at either target, or they could all shoot individually at the same target, or they could do what's called forming a fire group. So the rules for fire group, fairly simple. Everything, it has to be 2 or more activated guys. They all have to have line of sight to whatever you're shooting at, and they've all got to have range to whatever you're shooting at, and they all have to be kind of in adjacent hexes. There has to be like a chain of adjacent hexes that the fire group is in. The benefit of doing so is that you would pick 1 unit to be the kind of lead unit, and then however many other units you have, you would add 1 to the firepower of that initial unit. So say if we picked the line unit with Corporal Hubbard to be the lead shooter in this, he's got firepower of 7, and say we're firing at the Volksgrenadier squads, we could have the other 2 line units helping him. We couldn't have Corporal Hubbard helping him because Corporal Hubbard has only got a range of 1, so the Volksgrenadier squad's not within his range, but the other 2 line squads could help him, and he would then take a shot at the Volksgrenadier shot with a firepower of 9 rather than with 7. Again, it's something that you have to weigh up at the time. Is it better to take 1 bigger shot, or is it better to take lots of little shots? So that's a decision that you have to make. But that's how you use fire groups. The only thing about fire groups is you can use weapons as well. So machine guns could be part of the fire group also. The only thing that can't be part of a fire group is ordnance weapons, and ordnance weapons have a little white stripe. It's usually fairly obvious what they are. I'll give you an example. So we've now got a howitzer possessed by this line squad here. That couldn't be part of the fire group, so you couldn't say choose the howitzer to be the lead shooter and then get 10, 11, 12. You can have the howitzer with 13 firepower. That can't take part of in the fire group because it's got this white stripe on it, meaning it's ordnance. We'll come back to ordnance weapons later because they fire in a slightly different way to normal units. So that's pretty much it for fire groups and for the basics of firing. In the next video I'm going to look at sort of defensive bonuses, hindrances, cover, and also line of sight, which can, especially when you're dealing with hills, can be a little bit tricky, but generally speaking it's a lot easier than in some games. So that's in the next video.